It is the Fantasy Rugby Yanks. My name is Jared Dyke. I wanted to say it's stupid and let's move on, but then you kept going.
I'm Ben Glauser. I don't like any way anybody handled that.
Collusion. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is the Fantasy Rugby Yanks. We are back for season 5. My name is Jared Dyke.
I'm Ben Glauser.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. 5 seasons. I didn't believe that until I looked at the stats from last year. I was like, oh, shit, that was season 4.
6 seasons in a movie is within sight.
Oh, God, a movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's whatever.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully it would be like a South Park movie and not some other lame movie.
Horror movies. What it would be.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, so we're back. We're ready to roll again, despite all the wild happenings, and we're going to talk about them all today. But first, we must crack on, as they say.
I miss doing that.
Woo!
I barely drink beer anymore.
I remember my first beer.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to find us on your favorite podcast, share, download, rate, review, all that good stuff. Also, of course, we want to give our props to our good friend George, the Fantasy Rugby Geek. It's busy season for him, as it is about to be for us, because things are kicking into high gear, especially with the draft making its return, and us all having to kind of figure that out because whoops, no premierships numbers from last year. So
yeah, nope.
So we got all fix our heads on that, but in the meantime,
we're losing the one data we have and gaining the data we don't have, or gaining the league from the data we don't have. So sucks.
Oh well. Yeah, we'll get to that on our fantasy podcast.
Yes, we will. Sad times.
But yeah, so grab George a coffee and a beer in advance, because if you're playing that and it's your first timer as well, you're likely going to be leaning on his advice. So go ahead and give him a little pump up there.
And he's already put out his advice, so reward him for it.
Yes. I totally agree. So we're not shying away from Black Lives Matter, but we're just gonna make a more general statement of there will be no discrimination here on our pod or on our Twitter Spaces. So if you are that asshole, we're gonna tell you to go pound sand. And then will be our chance where we talk about whatever discriminatory act is going on in the world, and maybe something good about it, which should hopefully be more often than not. Maybe not. Who knows? The one thing that I've noticed in the recent time is a lot of the England women's footballers have been getting or reported on getting loads and loads and loads of misogynistic messages from, of course, men, because they're too stupid to know, right from wrong. And so it's just that is a sad world we live in if that's still happening, and I'm just really annoyed for them, but also like, fuck you guys. Like, I'm not like that. You're making me look like the asshole too.
Exactly. It's just, it makes it bad for everyone. And for what? Like, because you're a little upset that a woman gets to be an athlete and do athletic things and like have that lifestyle,
and you don't.
That's you're just an asshole. There's no need for it. They're good. Shit. Enjoy it. Like, just chill out and fucking enjoy it, and stop making nobody should feel uncomfortable because of what they do. Like, if they're good athletes, let them be good athletes. Don't try to demean them. It just makes everyone look bad.
Yeah, it's only the tiny minded ones and tiny places ones that are really the ones that are doing it, but they're the ones that speak the loudest, unfortunately, and that really sucks for all of us.
And you see that shit up in BYU, by the way?
No, I didn't. What happened?
It was a women's volleyball player, who was getting like every service or whatever, like that she was in, or either giving or if she was like involved in the play, they would yell the N-word at her.
Oh my Lord.
And this was at BYU, and the student section was like kind of egging it on, and like apparently it was pretty. I saw video from it, and it was like it's packed for the women's volleyball, but they were all, yeah,
Wow, that is
being complete racist toward a Duke player, and like the coach didn't step. None of the coaches stepped in. First off, if I was coaching Duke, I would have been fuck. That would no.
Yeah,
like, how do you let that go
You're
too?
done.
That's just bad for yeah. It's just not a good situation. Nobody looks good in that.
Mm-mm. No,
So what
especially
the
if nobody
fuck?
steps up.
Yeah, no, I can't believe nobody stepped up. What
Mm.
like
Yeah.
no, unacceptable.
You stop play
Unacceptable
at
that
that
they
point.
did it. Unacceptable that nobody stepped up.
Yeah. You stop play at that point and just say,
Yeah.
"Hey, dude, you can leave. Bye."
Right.
That's awful. Well, yeah. So none of that shit, please.
Yeah.
No need. No need. Life sucks as is.
Right.
All right. Moving on from that. Of course, our Patreon will return. As we discussed, we will be obviously having to pump in new FRD numbers into it, but thankfully we have the ideas to it. My ideas going forward for this year will also be I will make the rankings free that I see fit. But also I'm going to do some writing, and that'll be only behind the paywall. I don't need all you assholes seeing this atrocity. I only want the people that are paying us money to see it.
You gotta want it.
But I will do some writing advice. You know, I write in my job, so I was like, you know what, this will be something I can just knock out at the same time.
I read your blog from your professional trainer blog.
Well.
That's good shit.
Just batch the two of them together, and
yeah,
bango, I got one for one place and one for the other. Might as well. I mean, all I do is just sit on my ass on Sundays anyway. I don't even watch football anymore. So.
Just don't put one in the wrong. Don't flip them when you go to send them out.
I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep that in mind. Ooh, there's the training one. Shit, people are wondering why they got fancy rugby advice today in their email, aren't they? Oops, that's not meant for you guys. Sorry. You can't take that email back either. It's gone.
Right. That's gone. It's out there.
It's like, shit, I did not mean to do that. But yeah, so that'll be a new contribution to the Patreon. So once we get that up and running, then go ahead and grab yourself a subscription to it, and we'd much appreciate it just the same.
Right.
And of course, we'll give you our special shouts and all that good stuff
as we do.
Even better news.
It's happening.
The Rugby Yanks are invading London.
Here we come, motherfuckers.
We will. Yes, we finally nailed it down. We are coming over end of next month, beginning of October. It's going to be a blast. It'll be a whirlwind for us because we're only going for the weekend. But
right,
we're
should coming in Friday. Going to what? Sarri's hosting Leicester on Saturday. Quinn's hosting Saints on Sunday, and flying home Monday.
Yeah, that's. It'll be a whirlwind. So my general plan for Friday evening is to hunker down someplace, and we don't know where we're gonna what particular place we're gonna be at when we are in London, but it won't be far from our residence.
Right.
Folks that want to come hang out and say hi, we'll let you know where we're gonna be.
You will.
Or you can meet us at one of the matches. Those are the other places.
Right. Please be kind. We come in peace.
Yeah, we're not trying to break shit.
Right.
Promise. You know, we're not like other traveling Americans. Bunch of twats.
No, I'm just saying, don't come to beat us up. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Also, that like if you're coming to beat us up, and you got problems of your own.
Please don't. That's all.
Okay. With enough of that, there's lots to get to today. Also, we got plenty to dive into, despite the fact that we're not in league season yet. Because we're going to talk a little bit about what happened this past summer. The goings on currently, and then obviously the news cycle as well, which is a little on the depressing side lately.
Yeah.
So we'll start a little bit, and we're not. I don't want to spend too much time on each team, but we can, especially the Northern Hemisphere teams, we can kind of give a quick recap because there's more action going on for the Southern Hemisphere teams right now, and we can dive in a little bit more into those because they are playing matches, which we are going to get in on the Rugby Championship and stuff like that as well. So. Looking back, let's start with the team that shocked the world, and the Irish getting their first series win ever in New Zealand. And the talk obviously is, as they tend to do, Are the Irish peaking too early? Let's hope not. But you never know.
You never know, but this is so there's obviously the question mark of Jonathan Sexton,
Right.
because he's one of those guys who can be on form and just deadly, and then he takes a knock and he's not the same for like a year. And it's like, whether he's a little bit more hesitant to really draw in that contact, but he's also at the same time, he's also playing differently. He's not just doing that. He's doing that, like he's picking his spots better. And I think that's what's really opening it up for Ireland.
Right.
He's being less of just attacking that line and throwing it really quick, to making sure that it can get wide regularly. And they got guys out there who can tote it. So
they do.
Are they peaking too early? Maybe. Are they? But here's the question: have they peaked?
That is the question. We don't know.
Like this is
we'll
them
find
playing
out this fall, probably.
Right. This is them playing decently, like and extremely well. I mean, I'm not trying to undersell it or insult them, but I'm saying that there's still room for improvement there. That's the fucked up part, is that they're not, they're making mistakes too, but when the other team makes mistakes, they're just deadly.
Right. Yeah. They've made,
and they can make you make mistakes. That's the big thing, is they're now putting the teams in position where they're making mistakes, and it's because Ireland's forcing them into them.
Right. And this kind of brings to, and there's a lot of other players we can talk about, but I do want to just go to the coach. I want to go to Andy Farrell, because obviously it's been talked about for a couple of years now since Andy Farrell took over, what a difference this Irish team looks from Joe Schmidt. And the Joe Schmidt attack was just not that good. We know that. Right. It was a one-trick pony. It worked for a while, and then people figured it out. And that is a fact. I don't think a lot of people would argue with that for the most part. So Andy Farrell has now positioned himself to a point where if they continue to progress and they continue to go up, come next year, like after France, he could have any job he wants. And that includes the one where his homeland, and he doesn't want to be, because that has its own problems we'll get into. But he is looking more and more like the coach that everyone wants as of right now. Yeah. We'll see. A year's time, we could be talking different things here, but
true. But right now, I mean, even whatever could happen there, is there anybody you'd really want more though now? Like
in this moment, no.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. We'll see. But he's done a great job there. I think he can write his own ticket anyway. No matter what Ireland do, he's shown what his approach, his attack, and and his defensive quality. Like you can increase the attacking, flair and style without harming your defense.
Right.
And that, I think, is what is going to help him elsewhere, wherever the fuck he wants to go.
And there's one more piece of this team I want to talk about, and then we'll move on. It is the back row, which is, I believe, is made. The midfield is a big one, and then the back row. Everybody knows about the back three. That's not something we need to go into too deeply. But the back row has been something that's just really come up another notch, and it's Van der Fleer, it's Conan, it's Doris, it's Peter O'Mahony, which has played back to form. And people, for myself at least, I was kind of thinking Peter O'Mahony is going to be kind of on the edge of the World Cup squad in 23. Right now, he needs to be in France.
Yeah,
there's no question about that in my mind. And again, this is a credit to the coaching staff for the Irish as well.
They're different when he comes off the field. Like, he can't really play 80. I mean, he can, but I mean, damn, it's hard. It's hard to look at.
Yes.
When he does. They take him off the field, 60 or so in. It's a remarkable difference. And it's noticeable. So, and Josh Van der Fleer, I mean,
Flying Dutchman.
Right. Like when O'Mahony calls Kane
a
a
shit
shit
macaw.
McCall. It's because it's like, look at my 7 and look at you. Like, yeah. Like, yeah,
Sink
that's
into the bushes.
right. Vanderfleer is just maybe the best 7 in the world right now.
He's somebody that a lot of people would want, no doubt.
Yeah, Sam Kane is not.
Yeah, no,
We'll
not
get
right
to
now.
that later.
We'll get to them in a little bit. So yeah, Ireland doing good things. Setting the world alight with with the things they're doing. So we'll see if this is an upward trend, a plateau, or if they're going down the other direction.
Yep.
For me, I hope it's at least a plateau and no
Mhm.
worse, honestly. But then let's move over to England over in Australia, and I'll put it the way a colleague you and I put it. These were two not great teams, and England just happened to be slightly better
Mhm.
in this summer. And I can't argue with it. And there's a lot to go into about, yes, they won the series. Could they have played better? Absolutely. There is no
Mhm.
question in anybody's mind, I don't think. And really, if this is the team that they're going to pick for the next, year, I don't know how they get beyond the quarterfinal.
No,
Plain and simple.
they're 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 playing too South Africanly, and they have the talent to do so much more.
Mhm.
Um, and South Africa has talent, but it's like it's a different application of talent, and the players that South Africa have, England don't have, but they're trying to use to play that. We're just going to kick it and be disruptive, and hopefully one of us falls over the line. And it's like, okay, but you've got players who can run with the ball in hand. They can just go. They can create, like, we use the kick to disrupt the other team. It's like, no, you can use the pass. Like, these guys can run and leg it and disrupt the defense. And Eddie doesn't want them to do that. It's really like, yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
And
It's
Jack
frustrating to
Noel, real.
watch.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't buy it. There's five
he's
other
not
wings
right.
easily that are better than him.
He's not international quality. You look at any of these competitions, and like, he's by far the worst wing. Like, it's not even close. And so you can't tell me that that's the best England have.
God, I hope not. If that's what they
And
think
it's
is their
like,
best, they are
yeah.
totally screwed.
And it's like, he doesn't make mistakes. Well, okay, maybe that means he's in position, I guess, because I tell you what, I see him being in the right place and doing the wrong thing a lot. So it's like, no, he makes mistakes. But that other, he maybe, I don't know, I don't get it. Like, other somebody else might not be on the exact blade of grass that Eddie wants, but when the ball gets there, they'll be where they need to be because they're fast enough. And it's like, it's not
Mm-hmm.
Noel either. Like, he's not outrunning anybody anymore.
No,
He's not shaking anybody. He's not stepping anybody like like he used to.
plays too much like a center for me, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, as a wing, no.
No.
I think Joe Marchant plays a better wing than he does, and Marchant's a
Yes.
center by trade.
Yep.
So that's just my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah. Let him
Um,
run. They'd be so
yeah,
much better.
they have their problems. I don't know.
And it's got to be Laws and a Toje at your lock,
Yeah,
and then you have flankers. Like, you.
and I love Courtney Laws, and I think he gives great effort every time he's out there. And I just think the slight, and it's actually only a slight lack of mobility on Law's part as a flanker as opposed to a second row would, they would benefit, because it's not to say that on most teams Courtney Laws wouldn't be able to play flanker as a 6, but the options that England have are astronomical, so you need to consider those.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
the thing.
now you have some hump at playing it at 5, and
Johnny
like,
Hill operative term.
right. Like, it's just who offers nothing really.
No.
Like, he was bad. He should have been red carded too. But
Yeah, he was
whatever.
lucky to not get sent home.
Yeah. But Eddie loves him, and it's like, then you have, okay, so you have what, Curry at 7, who again provides nothing in attack,
Right.
and then you have an 8 who is, like, who the fuck knows who the 8 is right now.
Yeah, that's up in the air.
But it's like,
so
who's
bad,
your attack?
so.
You don't even have an attacking option, and again, you have you have a pylon out there in that 5 jersey, or whichever lock jersey that Toje is not wearing.
He's usually wearing 4.
Yeah. So I don't know. I the selections are poor, the strategy's poor, and the results are poor. What do you know?
Yeah, they weren't impressive by any means whatsoever over Australia. Australia's still got room to grow, and they're going up. And we saw that recently, and we'll get to Australia soon, but they are going up. So that's the thing. And that's why if I'm Australia, you're kind of annoyed that you are still where you're at, but at the same time, you can see what Dave Rennie's trying to do, and he's still trying to go upwards with this thing. And there's a lot of room.
Australia are playing better now than they did during that series, certainly. So
yes,
there's a lot to be said for that. Like that's just him getting the buy-in, getting the right selections, and getting them to understand what you're trying to get them to do.
Absolutely. Let's go to the Welsh, and they beat South Africa for one match, but they also beat South Africa's B team. So do you really need to put a whole lot into that, a lot of stock into that? I don't think so myself. And it's not to say that the players that were on the South African team are bad. But what their top of the line offers compared to some of the players that were in that lineup isn't quite on the same level. Let's just be honest.
That's a good way to put it.
So, Wales is another team. I don't know how far they're going to go in the World Cup. Will they get to the quarterfinal? No idea, honestly.
But they did play well. So
the first game was obviously kind of a shit show, which was not talked about on Twitter for a long time. So, but and then the third one, like the South Africans just kind of brutally took them down like in a headlock and just called it a day. Like, no, you're gonna stay here and you like it,
right? But if not for the favorable refereeing. That for some reason that wasn't a huge scandal from South Africans. They're all right when the referee plays poorly or does a poor job.
For them,
whatever. Fuck it. No, never mind. We'll get to that. Fucking
A.
But I don't know what they are. They could be good. They could suck.
PVAC does not have an identity for this team right now, and I think most people would agree with that. If there's a true identity that's very easily out there, I don't know what it is.
But here's what I don't understand, right? You've got a world-class 10. Yes? I think we can all agree.
Biggs, absolutely. And Anscombe.
Yeah. You've got a world-class centers combo right now.
Like, right out there, yeah.
Excellent. And you've got the best one, not the best right now, but one of the best. There's nobody better. Let's put it that way. Back rows.
There's a lot of good back row play going on.
A lot of talent back there.
Yep.
And you're meh.
You're very good in the dynamic places you need to be dynamic. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And you have you're not spoiled for choice for nines, but you have some good nines to pick from as well. So to say that,
and that's without even bringing in Adams and LRZ and Sanjay. It's like you've got such talent there. How can you be meh? Yeah,
like I said, I think Wayne Pivac is meh. So we're talking about some coaches that are meh. I think he's on that list as well right now. We'll touch on the last two because they weren't super prominent in the summer, but France over in Japan brought their second team, which is what they do all the time.
Yep.
I watched one of the games. Man, they should have lost it. If not for a knock on, they would have lost at the goal line. And the try was given, but they reviewed it on TMO, and I was like, oh yeah, he did lose that, didn't he? Shit. So not their best, but again, they're not. They don't see the autumn nations the way a lot of the other countries do. They just, this is a building opportunity, and I'm okay with that. I have no issue with that whatsoever.
I like that Ireland's doing that. They're bringing their younger star, their up and comers on a tour of South Africa. Yes, do that.
Yeah, get them some playing time together at least.
Right.
So, because last year was down in Australia was how we found Melvin Jaminet. And that was their same strategy. They were just bringing not quite their top players. They know what they need the top players for. They want them for the autumn, They
Right.
want him for Six Nations, and they want him for the World Cup. That's what they want him for. So they're using these as building tools, and I'm not mad about it as long
No,
as you
not at
understand
all.
what you're doing, and they do.
Yep.
So, if you're just bringing a bunch of helmets for the sake of bringing a bunch of helmets, there's a different
Mhm.
story there. You
Right.
know, so yeah, bring some developmental players, bring some guys that you definitely want to see what they have, and
Mhm.
if they perform well, then reward them in the fall and in the spring.
Right.
Great. Scotland found the
Yo,
same
bucket 'em,
found
man.
out. Yeah, that was bad. They found that Argentina, like a lot of teams have found, not so easy anymore.
No.
Credit to Czechs and all them, and we'll get to Argentina a little bit here. But credit to Czechs and that whole crew, Contepome, Fernandez Lobby. They are making life miserable. But yeah, Scotland are going to continue to be on the edge and never quite see their true potential. I feel like
Mhm.
that's just my opinion. And I'm not saying, I don't know if it's Townsend. I don't know if it's some of the players that continue to hang on with combinations of two of that. I'm not sure, but they have potential to really be dynamite, and they're not.
Yeah.
I
think and it's literally hard for me to say this. So I don't think that this is like a hot take that I'm just saying off the, shooting off the hip here. Because you and I have had this conversation as to, there's a question: is Stuart Hogg done at the international level?
I think it could be asked. Yeah, I think it could be
is he
asked at
cooked?
least.
And I'm not, no disrespect to him. Obviously he's been extremely entertaining and a fantastic rugby player throughout his career, but everything comes to an end, right? And he's giving me kind of Roethlisberger vibes, as in like he's
a little bit beyond that expiration date,
right? And every so often, like he's at the point where it's like every so often he does something you're like, okay, there's Stuart Hogg, but then that's like it. And he does a bunch of things. You're like, man, Stuart Hogg would be great right here. Like, they had Stuart Hogg. That would be just fantastic. And he's like on the pitch. So it's like, okay, well,
where'd you go?
Yeah.
Which way did he go?
So like there's a little bit of that for me too, because he's one of those guys that you just lean on. And it's like, I don't know that he's there anymore, and you can't really lean on him. So, and the other positions don't quite know how to do it because they're like, this is the way we've always done it because we've had Stuart Hogg back there.
Yeah, that can cause problems, no doubt. Yeah, so we'll see. Again, yeah, they're. I mean, talk about question marks about quarterfinal next fall. We'll see. I'm not convinced yet. All right, so let's move on to other nations, not in Europe. The one that we probably really need to talk about, and I think it's the one talked about the most, if not, it's up there. The All Blacks, New Zealand, and and we can even bleed a little bit of TRC into this. They've now fired everyone they can, not named Fozzie and Kane.
Right.
And I don't know if that was the right move. I think the better move would have been to one or the other. Honestly, I'm like, if you want to keep one or the other, fine. I think the move would have been to get rid of one of them, honestly, because you're talking about something that's never happened to New Zealand, with Ireland beating them in their own series. That is when it comes to drastic change needs to happen after something like that. Like in their storied history, it's never happened. That needs to be the immediate red flag that goes up and says, all right, everybody get to, HQ right now. We need a powwow, and somebody's losing their fucking job. Yeah. Sorry to say, that's a fact. Right. Instead, they got rid of two pretty good coaches.
Right.
And they've replaced him with, I like Jace Ryan. I don't have a problem with that, but they've replaced one with Joe Schmidt. I'm like, oh shit. He was supposed to just be a selector, not a coach. So yikes. Maybe if he's not running the whole show, it won't be so bad. But not so. There's problems, and it's unquestionably. And I'll say this, and then I'll let you get your words in. For me, the biggest hole right now is that 12 shirt. Without a doubt.
Havili's not international standard.
And Tupai is not there. And they use Jack Goodhue's apparently not an option anymore. So they got to fill that shirt with somebody better.
Yeah, he's in that role too for me.
So so they have to have an answer for that. And I'm sorry, I'm going to harp on this again. They let the best option walk out the door a long time ago, and that was Nana Labambe. And they shouldn't have. And they were really, really fucking stupid to slap him in the face and say, "We want you to stay, but here's a pay cut." It's like, no, you idiots. That is your best, one of your best centers, if not your best center.
Right.
Now he's walked out the door, and he's told him to pound sand, and he doesn't want to come back.
Than Havili, certainly.
Yes.
And so now they're trying to push Tuivasa Shek, but he's not ready. He's not even ready at the club level. So it's like they're trying, but you're the All Blacks. You don't try, you just do. If you're trying you're doing something wrong. Like, you have fucked up, and they fucked up. Yeah. Like, Sam Kane is, first off, he's a 6, right? Just make him like the Peter Amani. That's kind of what he's good for. But he's not a 7 at this level. And either way, that you have such options there between, like Papali'i and Sevilla.
Sliding already over. Yep.
Yeah. And you've got so many options there. And like, because Sevilla is playing at 7 as an 8. And you just don't have, when your 6 is, first off, Frizzell he's not international quality either at the moment. And shouldn't be on the team anyway.
No.
But you got these other options, like Peter Gus is around, and his form has been ridiculous. That's a guy you want. And he's not really getting a look again. And that
sucks.
Right. They're shooting themselves in the foot with their selections. Obviously the style of play is fine. It's just that the execution is terrible because the people doing it aren't very good.
No, I agree. And this might be, again, this is one of those things. It's desperation time. Putting Mwanga and Bowden Barrett on the same field at the same time might be something you have to live with for a while, because it's going to give you more options than not doing that. And I understand that means you're moving some players around. Listen, they were toying with the idea of Jordy Barrett playing 12. Honestly, try it at this point. Try it.
Right.
You have nothing to lose. So just and I know and I've already seen the lineup. It's not much different than what they've been putting out. And somebody pointed out, and I don't remember who it was, but this is another one they've kind of hit the nail on the head with, because I really thought about it and like, holy shit, they're right. The 2 shirt. And I have no disrespect for Coles and Taylor. I love the both of them to pieces. Tankiaho is the form guy right now. But they haven't really blooded anybody else in that shirt.
Right.
So you need to find answers, because they have answers. There's possibilities abound in New Zealand to fill that shirt. But they haven't really given anybody else a shot.
Yeah.
And Tankiaho's line out,
his throws have not been great.
No. But otherwise, open field play has been actually really good.
Yes,
but so has Taylor's. Taylor's lineouts have been shit.
Right. So really, that's the question of, is it the hooker then? Or is it just the timing? Is it just the
well, we saw the end of the game this past weekend. Like they totally fucked it, and Whitelock just said me, and they went to him. I was like, and he's another one that you have to start questioning him. And I'm not saying that this is like the thing to do, but you have to question some of the old heads, and he is a wily old son of a bitch. And I think at this point you need to consider bringing him off the bench as your best option and starting Tupou Vaa'i or somebody like that.
Right.
Brody Vitalik's back on the bench this weekend, so that'll be interesting. I would be very interested to see what other young locks they could pull through. They gave Tuipulotu a small run. I think he's been hurt though, so that's not really been helpful. Again, some younger faces to get through this thing, especially when you go on this autumn tour. You can do it like a freaking, like your oil, change the whole fucking thing if you want. And I honestly think they could.
Right.
And it would do them good. Yeah. Would their ranking suffer overall? Probably.
Whatever. Where rankings matter. What the fuck do rankings
right now
matter?
They don't. Right now they really don't.
You're gonna go play
a small stipend, but that's fuck that.
But you're gonna go play a World Cup and yeah.
So you have and we talked about like how many windows like Eddie Jones has to get his team in shape. The problem is even worse for Ian Foster right now in New Zealand, because you have the rest of the TRC, which is they only have a couple matches to play after this weekend. You have the autumn, and then you have 3 matches, maybe 6 in an abbreviated TRC next year. That is all you have to get prepared for it. So I think you really, if we talked about this being drastic circumstances for, the All Blacks, do something drastic.
Yeah.
Make a bold move, for God's sake. Honestly,
Right.
Ian Foster, what do you have to lose?
Right.
You're already on the hot seat. You might, if you get worse, your job's gone. And that's the worst time to lose it too. But if you get worse, your job is gone.
And who's
that is
like
plain and simple.
Who would hire him?
Like a club team, but that's it.
Yeah, he's like the opposite of Farrell.
Yeah.
Like when Fozzie's done there, it's who would really want him at the moment. It's just not going well.
And I don't blame New Zealand for going through the hiring process they did, because it's been working for them. They had Hansen, and then they got Graham Henry out of it. All of them did well, got them all of them got to semifinals, if not better. Hard to besmirch that. But obviously, this has just not worked out well. Either they picked the wrong guy internally, or they just picked the wrong guy in general. It doesn't matter how you want to lay it out. They picked the wrong guy, and I think that's really obvious at this point. So, will they get to for them, they'll get to the quarterfinal. I don't think there's a doubt in that. Semifinal is now the question mark for them, and that would be a very big disappointment for them.
Yeah,
after their last 3 World Cups.
Right.
So very, very, very ouch for that one. To Ben's favorite team, the South Africans.
I like the team. Well, I like the team. Most of the team, but it's the fans I can't stand. At this point, I'm done. Stop blaming the refs every time you lose. It's enough.
Yeah,
it's enough. You made your point. You whined. You cried. Stop airing out refs that happen to referee matches you lose.
Right.
Do bad calls go? Do refs make bad calls? Yes.
Oh yeah.
Do they miss calls? Oh, fucking all the time. Does it? Has it actually impacted these matches? No, it has not. And not only that, but the calls that they're whining about were fine. Like, stop it. Okay, first off, Nick White, hilarious. That was the funniest fucking thing I've seen, and it worked. Only because it worked. But I mean, at the same time, Faf,
his reputation did him no good there.
But you're taking the risk, right? You're taking the gamble.
And that's what Paul Williams said too. Like, I know what you're trying to do, but that's the risk you run.
Right. Exactly. He got it. That's exactly what it is. You hit the guy, you make contact with his face. Now you've slapped him, strike to the head, yellow. That's just what it is. And you went you didn't have to do it. You didn't do anything except you punch a guy in the face and get you a yellow. So great, good work. So no, that's a yellow. Corabetti did attempt to wrap.
But Pippi's not supposed to be doing that anyway. So
right, yeah, jumping into
part
contact
of that we
is
want to
not
talk about.
Right. I saw somebody literally tweet about well, he hit him in the air. And it's you can't jump into contact.
Yes.
So no, but either way, all that aside, South Africa just aren't playing well. They're not. Their defense is not dominant at the moment. We saw Australia just carve them up.
Yeah.
Australia's carving them
the
up.
Second McWright try.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. They're getting your tendencies. They're learning how to draw you in certain ways. And they're learning, it's become obvious now how you defend. And when Australia can be okay, they're making them look like they're mortal defensively. Yep. And if South Africa are mortal defensively, and they're actually doing their role, they're playing fine. It's just all of a sudden, instead of running into, as everybody does, instead of running into the smashers, suddenly they're running into space. And it's wait a second. They're finding space where there isn't any, and then creating space where that's the mortality. There doesn't used to be space here for South Africa, where nobody hit that space. Now they're hitting it. What do you do?
Yep. You need to have an answer, guys. Sorry.
Right. And so, that now the South Africa live off of that turning defense into attack. And now suddenly that's not happening. And yeah, they're going to look shit. So
Correct.
and that's the problem with not really focusing at all on attack, because as soon as someone unlocks your defense,
yeah, you need to have an answer to respond.
Right, and they don't have that right now, and that's disappointing considering the runners that they have.
They got a plenty.
They should be ready.
They got a plenty, no doubt.
Yeah.
And Lucanio Am's been out of this world lately for them as well. So
he totally
it's not like they don't have foreign players by any means.
Right. And Andre over DDA. That change has got to happen.
Yeah. Is Esterhazen still banged up?
I'm not sure, but
yeah, that's the one thing I can think of.
I don't think. I mean, I think De Allende is more of a club guy at this point.
And it may go that way by the time we get around to certain parts of the cycle here.
Right.
It may yet. Yeah, so let's go to their most recent opponent, Australia, and the things that we saw both between them in the England series and recently now. We saw what happens when South Africa do the normal thing, but it wasn't against South Africa. It was against Argentina with the high bombs, and they just had so much struggle with that. And they had a couple of things that didn't go their way in that loss over in Argentina, but still so South Africa, of course, they're just going to harp in on that and be like, let's do it. But wisely, Australia saw their mistakes. They saw their fuck ups. They had 2 weeks to fix them, and they fixed them.
Yeah.
So credit to Australia for that. They realized, we did not handle that shit very well at all. So let's get some guys in there that can handle these things and that, are going to be problematic when they get the ball in hand in the air. And they were.
Yeah.
I think that's an easy way to say it. And a guy that you and I have not been a fan of by any means whatsoever for a while, but has played himself really, really well certainly in the recent games, and that's Corbetti.
I'm like, I took me a second. I'm like, was it Corb? Didn't we not like it? Was like, weren't we sucking shit on him? Like, or was that? It must have been a different guy. Like, I'm like, no, it must have been someone. Like, I'm like, no, it was Corbetti, and it's like, it isn't the same player. So
it doesn't look it. No.
Yeah. Good. I mean, it's amazing, especially the physicality. That was what we kind of were annoyed by. It was that he was completely non-physical, and first off, he's been punishing defensively now lately. Yes. Just, it's not just Mapimpi. He was, dynamite earlier too.
Yes.
And then he's just lethal in attack. Because he's not running away from people, he's running like just off of them and challenging them rather than trying to just avoid them.
Yeah,
and
like just off the shoulder, just off that shoulder, which is a guy like him where he can thrive.
Right. And especially when great. In the context of how someone's trying to tackle him, which is usually like a cover tackle situation, you run right off the shoulder. That's where they're almost like, I would almost rather have to dive and take you out at that point than have you run right at me, because I'm already off balance. So I think about this a lot when I'm
and there's been some very impressive play for them all over the park as well. We've seen the return of Roy Arnold lately, and that's been nice to see for them. And they've been doing it really well in the TRC without their captain as well, because Michael Hooper was obviously who he is, and but he's done the right thing, and if he needs some mental time to take a step back so he's ready come 2023, I think that's the right move for him. Thing. He needs to be ready, and even if he's not, that is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You need to look after yourself in the end.
Right.
There's more to life than this sport, as much as we love it. So he's made the right move in that. I'm wondering when we're going to see, and he's actually played really well lately, and I'm wondering, can we see him get even better? If we can, he'll own the shirt, and that's Noah Lolesio. Can he get a little bit better? Because if he does, he will own that 10 shirt forever. And he's beating out some good players too as well right now. He's playing pretty well. Played pretty well in the England series. Especially that first match when he was kind of like, oh, by the way, you're starting now 5 minutes before kickoff. Played really well in that match. But I don't want to compare him to Marcus Smith, but they're about the same age and they obviously play the same position. Marcus Smith's a world beater. Like that guy will light up any team. Doesn't matter who he's playing for. Lulicio's not quite as talented, but still has monster potential and the potential to be
he has the
a
potential
long
to be
time
there.
10.
Yeah,
What's up?
He has the potential to be a Marcus Smith. It's there. I mean, not.
I just don't. I don't think it's quite come to the surface like it has for Marcus.
Right. I mean, he'll just be one of those guys who becomes that at like late 20s instead of early 20s, and that shit. There's no shame in that. But yeah, he's headed in that direction where in 4 years or so he'll be maybe not this World Cup, but the next one. He could be one of those like box office type players that you're excited to pay to see.
Only good for the sport,
right?
Only good for the sport. So,
and he's
I'm
impressed up a little bit too. He doesn't look like he's gonna crumple.
No, he's been sticking his nose in everything. So I appreciate that. Even if he falls off it a little bit, he keeps sticking his nose in there and doesn't quit. So I have a lot of appreciation for that. Really good stuff from the young guy, and a lot of good stuff from Dave Rennie's squad. If Rugby Australia is smart, they're going to make sure that they lock up Dave Rennie till 27, especially since they're hosting it. Let's go to the Pumas, Argentina, and their impressive feats of late. Didn't play well in their June series, but that's okay, can be forgiven. But the main opponents that they've probably targeted are these games, this TRC, and they've played really well in all of them so far and come out with 2 wins, and now they're sitting on top of the TRC right now. So
and they've done so without a 10.
Yeah, whatever. Belly's kicking. It's unorthodox, but that's what we accept from Argentina.
Right. You're putting a wing at 10 and he's just like, okay, well, just chuck it around then. Okay.
Yeah. Doesn't know any better. He's like, fuck it.
Yeah. And it's working. I mean, you don't notice that they're not playing with that. It's not something you appreciate while the play is happening. It's just when it's over and you're like, damn, they have a wing at 10 and they're doing this shit. Ridiculous.
It is. It is. And I don't think the guy can be pointed out enough. The Lester hooker, Julian Montoya, just wow. The guy is playing out of his skull every day. And, I think to Czech's credit, giving him that captain's armband I think it's upped his level, honestly.
Yeah.
And to say that he was bad before is completely inaccurate. But man, he's just brought it to another level.
There's something to be said for having to come up in the shadow of Creevy, where there's this, you're the imposter. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter, in some cases, how good you are. But fuck if he hasn't stepped out from that shadow, and it's not that Creevy's playing poorly at all. I mean, fuck, his work for London Irish is outstanding. But yeah, it's now Montoya. It's been like Montoya said, nope, this is mine now, and did the right thing, and has stepped up ever since, and giving him the C has stepped it up even more. What else is there to say? He's been fantastic, and that back line is something else. What a bunch of they're right bastards on the pitch. But okay, so here's the thing. You're gonna sit there on the Twitters and complain about Nick White getting slapped in the face and playing it up. Hilarious. But you're not gonna say anything when fucking what's his ass? Matera takes the yes, it was a hit. I fully agree it's a penalty. No, this is the difference. No question it's a penalty. Matera fucking dove. That was a Vlade Divac dive. I got touched and fought, that was not a hard shoulder. Kane was quite obviously easing up, and one of those, and he went harder than he should have, definitely. But that dive was unseemly.
Olympic level diving.
Right.
All right. last team we'll get into, and then we'll try and shuffle through the last couple
I don't
things
want
here.
to talk about it.
Yeah, I know, but we need to, because number one, we need to acknowledge the fact that the Chileans are going to the World Cup for the first time, and that is all the credit to them. And they won't, as someone pointed out, there will be no like issue like there was with Spain or anything like that. These are all homegrown guys. They play locally for the most part. Like, there's going to be no question about it. They're going to the World Cup 100% legit. And for me, and we can dive into this at another point in time deeply, but at the same time, like, you can make a laundry list with what's going on, with what's wrong with USA Rugby. You can make a laundry list, several laundry lists with what's wrong with USA Rugby, let alone a book. Like, it is, and this is the smallest tip of the iceberg that I could find, and it's refereeing in the MLR bit us in this particular series to a point. And the one particular point I can point to is that neck roll that cost us that last penalty, because it is not harped on nearly to the level, if at all, in Major League Rugby.
Right.
You know, TMO is almost useless in Major League Rugby. The referees don't pick up on it as much.
The ARs aren't allowed to make calls like that.
No, that's the bad part.
What the fuck?
So this guy who's been doing this for the whole league season rolls into this fixture, which is right after the league season, doesn't know any better, and clears out the way he's probably been clearing out for 90% of the league season, because he hasn't been pinged.
Right.
And Luke Pierce and the TMO and all that, of course,
they're on it.
I don't care if the friggin' Chileans bitched about it. I was annoyed, but I get it. They have their point. The TMO picked up on it. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't. Okay. That is the tip of the iceberg of the problems that we have with the United States Eagles. I jokingly said that I hope we miss it, and I'm still kind of serious about that. I really am.
They're not likable. They're just not. And you have a team with AJ McGinty and Greg Peterson on it, and
Ruben DeHaas,
and you can't find a way to be likable.
Right.
What the fuck? It's embarrassing. And who is it? Oh shit. Who was the center who is normally a 15? Brocky.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm over.
I remember seeing him at the MLR level and being like, every time he was getting the ball at MLR level, when they were playing the Free Jacks, I was like, okay, that's fine. He's not going anywhere.
He's not going far.
Like, he is an anti-threat. He's just a guy with the ball. And he's not even fast anymore. Like, I'm 42, I'm out of shape, and I'm like, of course I'm thinking like I'm, back when I was like maybe even 33 or so, and still had a little bit of a kick in me. I'm like, back then I was faster than Brocky is now, and that's not good for anybody. Yeah, I don't like it.
No, and
they got to have someone else. There's so many other options.
Will Hooley, what did Will Hooley do wrong? I want to know. Like, he's a true fullback. He's played at really good professional levels with Saracens and Bedford. What did he do wrong?
Yeah,
really, and I'm a big fan of his, but at this point, tell me why he's the wrong choice at fullback right now.
No, I cannot.
Yeah, he's not. Mitch Wilson played a brilliant game, saw no time in the Chile series.
Right.
The fuck.
And then they weren't really getting much out of their backs. And yeah, I'm sure. I like, AJ is so good that how do you waste that?
Yeah.
How do you make it that look bad?
And I say so. And the answer for me, one of the answers for me in the pack is right now, and I honestly don't give a shit if this is even remotely controversial. You have Greg Peterson at lock, push Cam forward as that. Fuck Brakely, fuck Savetta. They both suck.
They do.
Sorry. Find back rowers that actually give a damn. Have Samu Manoa, on the bench as a potential 19-20. Doesn't matter which one, he can do both.
Yep.
Okay. And find dynamic back rowers, because we have some. We have some all over the fucking place. Find some. And then, there will be we can do a special, and I think maybe we'll pick up the phone and call Bill on this one about how to solve these problems, because right now I'm annoyed to holy hell about what the hell we have in front of us right now, with the Repassage tournament being the last chance. And could we do it? Yes. I'm still 50-50 on whether or not I really want us to, because if we don't, at least we can take a hard look at where we're fucking up, and we can maybe just rebuild the whole thing from the ground up. And that would be nice. I'd be okay with that.
Give Cam a call.
So yeah, we'll see. But needless to say, I'm done with that. So let's do it before we run out of too much time here. Let's dive into the unfortunate situation that going on at Sixways, and it's, Worcester Warriors are in dire straits. They are, as far as we know, they are planning to play the season, but problems left, right, and center everywhere you look at Sixways. And sadly for Ben and I, Steve Diamond is not one of the problems.
I mean, he's a sympathetic character in this situation. He's looking good in this situation. Like, that's how bad the fucking ownership has fucked up, that Steve Diamond is like a hero here. And that said, with all respect for what he's doing, I mean, he's a huge pain in the ass asshole. But he's also a club guy, and he's absolutely doing the right thing. And good. Well done. He's making sure they have a kit. He's making sure the players have a paycheck and accommodations and whatnot for the travel. He's doing the right thing.
Right.
Much respect for him.
Yeah.
Sucks for the players though. That's just like, it's a whirlwind for like a guy like Finn Smith, who signs with Saints, and then suddenly, okay, no, you're going to get paid.
That's off. Yeah.
Okay, so that's off. But now all of a sudden it's like, well, we're not getting paid. Like, well, what the fuck?
Right. Yeah,
Like,
I'd be super annoyed.
Yeah.
Super annoyed. And every player, anything that any player has to say at this point, bar like anything derogatory, you have all rights to say this shit right now. Honestly.
Like, I'm good. Like, they've been putting out videos today, and
I've seen them.
Fergus Lee Warner did that. Fergus Lee Warner fucking moves continents to come play for your team, and suddenly he doesn't get a paycheck. Like, what I would be furious. And he's there making sure. I mean, it's also for the it's Ferda, so it's not really for the Worcester Warriors. It's for your guys. Yeah,
it's for the guys that wear the shirt with.
Play with. Yeah,
absolutely.
But damn,
it totally sucks. And so as far as we know, there is some sort of American sports group that's looking to buy the Warriors and hopefully dig them out of this bullshit hole that they're in. But I mean, clearly, here's the thing, and it happens all the time, where you have a beloved owner that gets the team to where it's going, and people will never forget it. And then you have an ownership group that takes over and completely just cocks it. And it doesn't happen all the time, but this is usually the story. It's usually the beloved owner sells to another person and completely cocks it. Being a Fulham fan, I can tell you that happened with my club, and I watched it happen. I still fucking hate the Cons. I don't like them at all.
I forgot that till they showed him on the TV the other day, and I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh, you fucker. And then the little pissant son, I would given the chance, somebody find Tony Khan and plant him in front of our Airbnb so I can slap him when we're in London. Meantime, it's just really, it's the story. And when you are that second owner that comes in after the beloved owner, you have to work really freaking hard to one up that guy, or at least match it, because you will be the devil if you fuck it up. And these guys did not do that. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. They did not do that at all. And that's painful for the people of Worcester.
Like, they're clearly trying to make it like vulture capitalism almost. Like, I'm sure, who do we think were the people who were buying up like the car park and shits on the grounds? Like, it wasn't just random people. It certainly wasn't anybody who lived in Worcester. It's not anybody who's like a fan of the team. It's someone who just wants to profit off of the team falling apart. And it's like, it sounds like what the owner's trying to, like, it just sounds scummy all around. And Like
Agreed.
it's bad for the league too. They got to step in at some point and
Yeah, you'd hope PRL would get their shit together and help them out.
yeah,
Help sort this out very
right.
quickly, because for the sake of the players, you got to sort this out fast.
Yeah,
Because you can't have these players just going in with
right.
these half-hearted issues, because the product's going to be bad too.
Yeah,
Now, that said, I hope that Sixways is bouncing the first home game they have. I
yes,
really do.
I do.
I really, really do.
And I'm sure it will
And
be.
what you do, and this is what, so here's the model that I know, because I have two friends that were Newcastle United fans, and they used to have an owner named Mike Ashley. For those that aren't footy fans, some of you probably already know this. He was the biggest dickhead possible as far as owners go.
Mhm.
And what fans did were they bought the tickets, they bought no merch, and they bought no concessions. That's it. They went to support the team, and that was the end. And that's what. And honestly, in this situation, until you have an answer,
Mhm.
that's your answer, Worcester. Go to the match, support the hell out of the players to the gills. Do not buy merch. Do not buy concessions. Drink them at the pubs after and before.
Yeah.
Support the boys in the in between. If you have merch already, great. Go get some knockoff merch if you don't. Okay.
Yeah, right.
That's the answer. Okay, that's my solution at least. So I hope that's the type of thing that happens. So the freaking owners finally get the message and they can fuck off. Because I think that would be best for a lot of people.
It would.
And then our final note on here. We have another World Cup that's being built up for here. Very, very a nice little slow burn, but we're getting there, and it's getting fun. We've seen Black Ferns and Wallaroos compete twice with each other. One a little lopsided. The second one, quite good.
Yeah,
quite good. Wallaroos acquitted themselves quite well.
Did you see Ruby Tui's interview afterwards?
I love that interview. I love
her.
Yeah, I love her so much.
Of course, you are correct. But like her energy towards Australia too, saying like, hey, they watched film, they learned they're better. That's important. That when it's that obvious that you notice as an opposite player, and that means that obviously Australia are doing something right there too, which is good because the Wallaroos deserve to be good. And right now they're not really. They haven't been as competitive as they should. Shocking for Australian to hear from Australian rugby that they're not as competitive as they should be. But it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit different in women's rugby where there's more opportunity to be the best team. I mean, fuck, the Eagles women are
very good.
Very good. They're just not the New Zealand standard yet.
No, not there yet.
But yeah, that's not that far away from anybody. So
no,
Australia are proving that. So good for them.
Yeah, no, and the one thing I will say, and I think the best thing, and it's been said a few times over the last couple years now, as women's rugby has picked up the tracking that it should. People are being critical of the players on the field, and I mean that in the way they play. I don't care about, like we talked about, the misogyny is not welcome, none of that. They're being critical of, are they doing their job well enough? And that is something I think we need to just remember, like, continue to be critical, because we don't need to, because these players do not just want a pat on the back because they're playing women's rugby. They want that. They want to hear, this player's not doing a good job because of so-and-so, so let's play so-and-so instead. That is what they want. And I guarantee you that's what they want. And I know to a level that will get really annoying for them, and they'll be pissed. But overall, for the good of the game, that's what they want. So yes,
but
let's observe things, be critical, and say this person's not doing the job, or this person, this person needs to, this person's been found out, stuff like that.
There's standards.
Yes.
And that's the big thing. And it's like, sometimes there are some players who want to be the best player on a bad team. Like they would rather that than be a bench player on a great team. And those are the players who are, the former are the players who, when the team is bad, when a team like, the Eagles or, a Scotland or an Ireland, where there's no real standards, they're cool. That kind of culture favors them. But then, now you're making it, when you start making it professional, you start having those standards, and those get sussed out, and then suddenly you have just an overwhelming influx of good players, and that's, but the standards, and then the standards go up, and that's how it ratchets up. That's how, iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely. Yep. I agree. And then we'll touch on said Eagles this past weekend playing Scotland. Two players that I want to talk about a little bit, one on either side of the coin. We'll start with the bad, and that way we can end on a good note for myself at least. Nikki James, sorry, Charlie Jacoby should be playing tight head, and I understand this is a warm-up match, so with that understanding, okay, fine, you're trying to figure out if she's good enough. That kickoff match, she better not be playing tight head. That's what I know. Charlie Jacoby should be the tight head. That is what I've gotten. And I said this about Hope Rogers last year, and then she got good. She got fit. She got better. And I clap my hands for her. So I want Nikki James to get better, or Charlie Jacoby needs to start starting.
Hope Rogers used to be Nikki James, which means Nikki, there's a potential for Nikki James, but she's got to start moving.
Yep.
Start getting in a running program. You're strong enough. Put down the weights. Well, you
can pick up the weights, but get fit. You know,
substitute.
And I am not one that's going to sit here and judge body type. What I'm judging is she can't get around the park.
Right.
I don't care what you look like. Listen, Bastero played for years and was brilliant, and he was the biggest motherfucker out there.
Right.
I don't care about that. Get your ass around the park. I don't care after that. I don't care if you got a friggin' big head and small legs. It doesn't matter. Get your ass around the park. That's all I care about.
Right.
So that's that. The other one I do want to touch on that's on the bad side of the coin is Olivia Ortiz. I think Carly Waters again will be the 9 going forward. Her footwork is off. Her footwork is very off. She's letting the defense get on her teammates. It's a problem for me. I see it. I don't know if she's fixing it or not. Hopefully she does.
Yeah.
On the good side of the coin, the best back row in the world has to include Kate Zachary, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're picking your 15 right now, she has to be in it somewhere, whether it's 8, 7, or 6. It doesn't matter.
Right. Well, because the other two are going to be Poppy Cleal and Molly Packer. So you kind of just throw her out there wherever. It doesn't matter. You just put any of them anywhere, and then you're fine.
Right. So, I mean, we saw what she does with ball in hand, and it is. You can't you can't do what she did, especially in that field flip that she did, picking up the ball on her, in her own 22 and just nearly putting it home. You can't not be one of the best back rowers in the world if you do that. Like, plain and simple.
Right. To a respectable team too. I mean, Scotland aren't amazing right now, but they're not bad.
They're going to a World Cup now.
Right. They're just not it's it's not. It's like they're not top tier, but whatever. That's not a. The US should be beating them, but
good
it's still,
fucking players on that team too.
Exactly. So it's still a quality play and quality standard that she's setting. So
agreed. Yeah. So I'm excited about what the Eagles team does in October. Because of course, some of I coach a high school team, girls high school team, and I've been just pumping this thing up like they should do. They should do well. So I'm hoping. I don't at this point. I don't think they're going to let me down at this point. So might be a different story this weekend with the Red Roses.
Right.
That'll be a different standard, but the Red Roses are a different standard compared to a lot of people. So
but this is where you're measuring yourself, right? This is where it's, are you going to go make noise at the World Cup, or are you really there to win it? This is what you kind of find out, because if you're going to win the World Cup, that means you're going to have to beat England. You're going to have to beat
Black Ferns. Yeah. Yep.
Like,
totally.
If you can't do one, then you can, and you can't do the other. That's going to be problematic. But at least where your expectations should be.
Yeah. Agreed. One thing before we sign off on this one, the old tip of the cap and a nice clap for Kendra Coxedge, who is she's going to call time at the end of this year. And you talk about a legend.
Timeless.
Legend of the, like, you think Black Ferns, you think Kendra Coxedge. Like, that is
right.
That's not a question at this point.
How do they play without her?
Yeah, I mean, they did the other week and they did okay, but
fair. Yeah,
but it's gonna be So and she's like, oh, we'll see if I can get on the Black Ferns team. I'm like, what are you nuts? You're getting on the Black Ferns team, you psycho? What's wrong with you? Of course you're getting on the Black Ferns team, you nut. So tip of the cap to an absolute legend, and she's done a world of good for women's rugby, especially, obviously, but in general, with this the growth of rugby is the growth of rugby. I don't care how it is, honestly. If it's sevens, if it's 15s, if it's women's, men's, it's fine. I don't want to hear anything about rugby X, but in the grand scheme of things, the growth of rugby is the growth of rugby. So yes, Kendra Coxedge has done a ton for rugby in general. Plain and simple. That's that's my view on it. So kudos to her. We'll see how she gets sent out one way or the other this fall. So should be fun just the same. So well done to Kendra. Ooh, look at that. My oh my, would you look at the time? Wow. So we're back in the saddle here. We're back for weekly stuff. It's going to be fun.
Next week might go over a little bit too, as we do our
Prem preview.
Prem preview.
Yeah.
So we'll have a few more teams to go through and a few more matches to have watched.
Yes.
After this weekend.
Yes, but I think we can all live with that, especially if it's the good stuff like we think it's going to be. So, and then we'll do. If you're coming over to the fantasy corner, yes, it's back. We're going to keep going with it. It was, I think it was a big success last year where we separated the two, and some could just listen to the rugby stuff. Some could, especially when you have a short week. Like, I understand we babble and you want the good stuff. So you just skip our babble about rugby and you go to the fantasy corner, then you go back to the other shit later. And that's fine. I have no issue with that whatsoever. But yeah, so if you're coming over there, we're going to talk Division 2 of Champions League. We're going to explain keepers. We obviously have some sad news that we'll talk about. We'll talk FRD rankings and preview, and FRD Champions League draft order. So, we'll see you over there. If you're not coming over there, thank you very much for listening to us. We're happy to be back, and we're happy to be entertaining your ears for a little while, and we appreciate you for hanging out with us. We'll catch you next week. Have a good one.
Later.
Cheers.